Welcome back to coverage here at Pro Tour Thunder Junction. We're in Seattle, Washington. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe with Monty DeBooty, and we are early on day number 2. We're doing a little bit of drafting here today. We just got to watch Yoshihiko Ikawa draft a solid green-red deck. It's nothing insane, but it's pretty good.
7.5, 8 on a generous day.
And definitely the right one for his seat, which was a tricky one. Take a look at the head-to-head here. Yoshihiko Ikawa at 8-0 is going to be playing against Lucas Duchow at 7-1. Fantastic days, obviously, yesterday for both of them. Ikawa's deck, this is the one that we just watched. Very straightforward. Every card in this deck is on plan. There is nothing in between. This is just make huge monsters, attack you with them, maybe fling one. Use some well-timed removal to get these things through. We will probably be seeing a lot of plotting from this deck. Now, on the other side of the table, though, is Lucas. What did Lucas come up with? Oh, interesting. Also in green here, Monty, but it's paired with black. Ooh, I see Karavek the Punisher, a couple of Vault Plungers. Nice.
Yeah, Primal Command, a hard hitter in this one. That is one of the more powerful cards from that crime sheet. Double Shoot the Sheriff. This is going to be very strong against the red-green deck. Not as many outlaws as you would like, so if you can use these Shoot the Sheriffs to take care of the large elemental creatures, from Dance of the Tumbleweeds, for example, or Tumbleweed Rising, that can be a very value and mana plus play for you. Honest Rutstein, the payoff green-black uncommon among some of the other ones, excellent. And you see one of the best uncommons in the entire format is Spinewood's Armadillo, so a lot of hits in this deck.
Yeah, I would say just looking at that, I like Lucas's spot here a little bit better, but these decks are very similar. They're also close enough on power level, it seems. And this could be a very interesting matchup between these two. So let's get underway as we see if Ikawa can extend that undefeated streak, or maybe if Lucas can say, how about we're both 8-1?
Yeah, because this is revenge for Lucas. Ikawa is the person that handed him that loss in the last round yesterday. So this is their second match in a row against each other. And, you know, Lucas on the Esper mid-range deck, he's got a way better matchup here on green-black against red-green and limited than he did in standard.
Than Domain versus Esper. So we see Ankle Biter come out. Nothing yet from Ikawa, especially no 2-drop just yet. That's strange. He prioritized them in the draft and has a lot of them in his deck.
Yeah, but Lucas's hand is a little awkward. Lots of lands, one removal spell that is conditional, doesn't hit the Prickly Pear, for example, and then a Spinewood's Paladin. So definitely Ikawa just landing a Prickly Pear here could take control of the game. And with that Scorching Shot, the one big creature in Lucas's hand already neutralized.
Yeah, this is where Ankle Biter transitions from kind of cool all-around card to I'm going to sit here until you cast something bigger.
Yeah. Really awkward against Jolene, though. If that Jolene can live, they'll just do a nice, easy job of clearing off the Ankle Biter.
That's right. You see Unfortunate Accident in hand here for Lucas, as well as the Shoot the Sheriff.
Yeah, picking up more removal is nice because Ikawa is planning on going probably Giant Beaver here. The real question is whether Ikawa is going to start playing around the existence of Shoot the Sheriff from Lucas, considering there are 2 copies, and whether we see him try to prioritize deploying mercenaries or plotting, just to make sure that if Lucas is going to be floating mana like this going later into the game, he's not allowing him to use that mana well.
Interesting. Both players choosing to plot on this turn. Ikawa had access to casting his 4-mana Giant Beaver, but decided not to. Just going to go with the Outcaster here.
Yeah, Lucas tapping out means that Ikawa can now guarantee drawing the card off the Outcaster, which is really nice, getting that guaranteed value against a removal-oriented deck like Lucas's. Now if Lucas uses Shoot the Sheriff on this Giant Beaver, the damage feels like it's already done. You've gotten an extra card off of it.
Yeah, it worked out really beautifully there for Ikawa, not only to set himself up for it, but also just that Lucas hit his land drop and tapped out that turn as well. Now this time Lucas is just going to pass the turn back after getting his Paladin onto the battlefield. That'll bump him back up to 21 life.
Oof.
But those turns are explosive for Ikawa. This is what we talked about before.
And Ikawa drew the Fling as well, so
Ooh.
if Lucas goes for this Unfortunate Accident or Shoot the Sheriff, now Ikawa has the ability to use this Fling for some bonus value.
Lucas does a quick card check. It's 5 cards in hand, actually, for Ikawa.
I think what I would like to see from Ikawa here is use the Mercenary to buff your Outcaster, attack with both creatures, and then cast a Tumbleweed Rising post-combat. Because if Lucas removes one of them, you still have a 4-power creature for the Rising.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be full value here for Lucas as well. He's going to get the Mercenary out of the deal. But as you mentioned, it looks like Ikawa's going to be content to just continue to build out his board here.
Yeah, 4/4s are strong in this spot. The onus will be on Lucas to remove them all, and he has limited removal. And more importantly, what we know is Lucas's hand is super awkward. He has 3 lands and 1 Shoot the Sheriff.
Yeah, that's really tough. Okay, this is Tumbleweed Rising.
4/4, I believe.
4/4.
Yep.
That's the benefit that he got from using the Mercenary that Monty outlined.
That's a good pickup. Honest Rutstein for Lucas, excuse me, means that he can play that, get back the Paladin in the graveyard, and still have access to Shoot the Sheriff this turn. So being able to double spell this turn is really big for Lucas.
Also, you see advanced play here from Lucas all over the place. He's going to main phase his removal spells in the face of cards like Fling, or I'm think that he's seen the list. I can't remember.
I believe the players in the feature match.
But Snakeskin Veil is a thing that players think about if they haven't.
Right.
If he has, then it's just the Fling. But because we know that Ikawa doesn't actually have any.
Right.
Snakeskin Veil, but still.
We could see Ikawa go for Jolene, use the Mercenary, buff the Outcaster, attack, and that'll give you an extra mana. Probably forcing the block from Lucas.
It would be pretty nice to have Fling up.
Yeah, you would have Fling up. You would also have access to 2 mana, so you could use that extra mana to Tumbleweed Rising post-combat, make another 4/4 regardless of the trade. So it is a very nice tempo play, and I think with just 1 black up from Lucas, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, Skullduggery, the only card that Ikawa has to consider in this spot. Lucas does actually have one in his deck as well.
Yeah, and because Mercenaries are at sorcery speed, I love Ikawa doing this first, saying that if I play the Jolene and you respond with Skullduggery, kill my Mercenary, I don't get this treasure this turn, and I want this treasure this turn.
Yeah, that was really
as likely
smart.
as possible. Make another one, 4/4. You answered it once, do it again.
There's also pressure on Ikawa to use Tumbleweed Rising when the using's good.
Yes. You don't want your opponent to be able to respond to your Tumbleweed Rising with a likely removal spell in response, removing your big creature, and suddenly you get a 1/1 from a Mercenary.
Okay, but he's going to take a slightly longer plan here with the Raucous Entertainer. Lucas definitely not missing land drops.
No, that is the part Lucas has covered.
Ikawa.
Oof.
Oh, a Gigapede?
That was a good one off the top.
Ambush Gigapede is
does have 2 of
what you want to
those.
find for sure. Wow, and it killed Jolene there too.
Yeah, it sure did.
And again, we see the main phases here from Lucas. That's the second time that he's done that, where he had the option on an instant speed or flash creature, and he's decided to main phase it. Very smart from him.
Yeah,
and it looks like he's just going to make himself a 5/5 here.
Yeah, not even going for the land. That is not the mode chosen here. These Dance of the Tumbleweeds in this deck are just let's make bigger creatures.
The removal so far has lined up pretty well for Lucas, but it has been remarkable.
He just threw a murder.
How much? Did he really?
Yeah. He's just been running the removal off the top, and this is so
And he's got the
backbreaking.
swamp too. Now he's going to hold on to it though.
Okay, well, Fling is online technically. So there is that.
And I'm assuming that, let's say it's the elemental that gets hit with murder, that it would be the Spinewoods Paladin that you'd want to hit. You'd want to use it as removal here.
Yeah, probably your opponent's at 20. This
Right.
Fling does not reach anymore, so
Right.
it has to be removal. And Ikawa may try to go for this Tumbleweed Rising here, but that would be so weak against potential removal. for the turn for Lucas. Desperate Bloodseeker, not really doing much here.
One interesting thing that I wonder if Ikawa is considering, you know, he did not put the Rise of the Varmints. Remember, he has that one copy. It didn't make it into the main. He is getting a lot of his creatures killed here. The awkward part is that many of his creatures aren't creatures. Like 3 of them so far have been killed, but they don't actually put a creature in the yard. Anyway, we'll talk about that for game number 2.
I would be shocked if it doesn't get brought in. Let's put it that way.
Okay. And there's the murder.
Wow, and he doesn't use the fling.
Yeah, he's just going to hold on to it. Perhaps viewing it as a win condition. He had an insurance plan, though, for the Tumbleweed Rising.
All right.
And he's also going to add a +1/+1 counter to the new elemental, thanks to Raucous Entertainer. So that one's a 6/6, the other one's a 5/5.
Has to differentiate the dice that are representing power toughness versus the counters on them.
Oh, there's Primal Command. And Lucas is gonna search for a creature and put the Forest, which by the way is still his only green source, back on top of the library. And he's gonna get Kervek.
And does
he have a crime committal?
He does. He's been holding on to that Desperate Bloodseeker in hand, so he has the ability to commit a crime. Now, we know that Ikawa has access to that fling in hand, but that's going to be a costly fling to kill this Kervek.
Lucas Duchow is a Magic Online legend.
Yes. Duke 1-2, I believe.
Yeah, that's it. And you can see why. There's the Bloodseeker.
Hold on. Stop now. On the stag. Yeah, it is too costly.
Is there an echo in here? Ikawa just said the same thing you did, Monty. So what's going to happen here?
I think Ikawa is going to have to sacrifice this 5/5 elemental to kill the Kervek. If you allow this Bloodseeker to come down, target you, commit the crime, and Lucas can go into the graveyard, get
for a murder,
a murder, whatever it is. The graveyard is full of powerful black cards right now. The game feels really close to over. So yes, this is a costly fling, but it feels like you do have to do it.
And unfortunately for Ikawa, he can't wait until something gets targeted or whatever. He just has to proactively do this.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow, throw a 5/5 at your Kervek.
It feels bad. Still milieu.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I do not think Ikawa is complaining about that one.
2 lands going to the bin there for Ikawa.
And now I think Lucas can get in with the Paladin there, attack for 6, knowing that this elemental can't block it profitably anymore.
And it's land go, though, for Ikawa. He's ran out of gas here, Monty.
Lucas had all the removal that he needed. That Gigapede was perfectly timed, and now this is a problem. This is a big problem.
Oh, huge problem. There's an armadillo as well.
Ikawa needs the second dance of the tumbleweeds. I think that is the only out. He needs it quickly.
Free Strider Commando is not going to do it. This is really interesting how this game played out. There was a point at which Lucas had 3 or 4 lands in hand and Ikawa had 3 or 4 spells but was missing land drops, but had 3 or 4 lands on the battlefield as well. And that is almost always the player with the spells wins from that position. The flood beats screw is what we always say, right? This is one of those rare times where Lucas was like, here's an action, here's action, here's action. And as we can see, Ikawa's now just hit a glut of lands, and it's really fallen apart for him.
Yeah, you and I have been talking about the old adages of Magic the Gathering. You know, you can't Invasion of Golgotha on the top of my deck, stuff like that.
Right.
Flood beats screw is definitely one of those adages, but they don't always hold true.
Exactly.
Sometimes the flood does win.
Sometimes you just rip what you need.
Yeah.
Feels like justice when it happens.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're seated.
Feels rough when it doesn't.
It does. I've never actually had it happen to me, but I'm told. All right, looks like a chump block with the Mercenary.
Double block on the Armadillo.
Yeah.
If you have anything, I lose. And I believe this is 8 damage coming through.
Down to 1?
Down to 1.
Yeah, down to 1.
Yep.
22.
Lucas gains 2. All right. You lose 2 creatures.
Yeah, but unfortunately that Gigapede stays on the battlefield. So that's 4 lethal threats versus just 2, and 1 top deck means we're going to go to game number 2. Lucas Duchow picks up game number 1 patiently. Matchup seems actually really difficult for Ikawa because if you look back over the course of that game, I mean, he put out huge creature over and over and over and over.
Yeah. Are we seeing the same game?
No kidding.
A bunch of lands, ankle biter for...
Lots of dancing.
Oh, wow.
Oh, look at this. Ikawa's on the draw here, Monty.
I love it. Ikawa was saying, you are the mid-range, full of removal deck. I need every resource I can get. You're not beating me down aggressively. I will be on the... Marshall, when was the last time we saw someone choose to draw
it has been
in a Pro Tour draft match?
Years.
This is awesome. I love it.
Is Ikawa missing green here?
I don't
Thought I saw an ankle biter.
Oh, there is a Burrow Fiend in hand. Yeah, he doesn't have the green. You're right.
Oh, boy.
Double dance to find the second green if he finds the first, but if he doesn't hit it, then all right, we're fine. We're fine. We're okay.
Clean living.
Everything's
off
okay.
the top.
Never didn't have it. Never didn't have it. Yeah.
So now what?
I think you dance here, get the second green, allow yourself to double spell next turn. Gives you a lot of options.
You see the stinger back terror.
Old stingy back.
Yeah. Against some matchups, it would be tempting to just get that thing plotted and start beating down with it ASAP, but this is definitely a matchup where that feels precarious.
That terror is not coming down for a lot of turns.
Right.
I think right now I want to go dance, get a second green. Next turn I can go Free Strider Lookout plus Burrow Fiend, for example, or Free Strider Lookout Ankle Biter. If Lucas hasn't added a creature.
How about Ankle Biter right now?
Ooh, it is untapped, of course. Yeah. All right. No, this is much more tempting. Perfect.
Very nice. Ikawa a bit behind here, but no reason to panic. Oh, interesting choice here.
Trade biters.
He definitely wants to trade. The question is a little extra damage, or does that ankle biter on the other side start doing some serious work later? And, you know, based on what we've seen here, that's definitely the case.
Yeah, get it off the board. Love this.
There's a Spinewoods Paladin getting plotted now for Duchow before passing back over. Was that Rise of the Varmints?
No, that was Cactarantula in the Zero Desert deck. A little grimace from me.
Okay.
You know, not the worst.
Again, there's ramp, right?
Yep.
We saw that already with the dance.
Yeah.
And a nice double spell turn that you predicted here, Monty, as well.
Yep. Yeah, the Lookout plus the Burrow Fiend is nice. Man, Ikawa would love some deserts in his deck. Just be able to ping your opponent, make this Cactarantula cheaper, commit a crime.
Oh, there's that primal command. Oh, put a land back on top. It feels so bad. Are we going to see Karavek again?
You know Lucas is from the old school of Magic when he cannot resist putting a land on top, just being like, I will time walk you.
Baby plow under.
You are drawing this land again.
And it's sitting there just staring. Look at it.
Yeah, it's right there. Gonna draw it again.
So the he's already got Karavek the Punisher in hand.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but we already see the Bloodseeker on the battlefield because, you know, I'm starting to think, there we go. What can I use to get a little crime going? Yeah. This is an awkward sequence, right? At some point, you're going to have to just play the Karavek and hope it survives.
Right.
But if it does, you're going for a very powerful
I think now you slam the Stinger back here. I think when your opponent does this, tutors for Gigapede, you have to slam a big creature.
Okay. And that's the best one.
You can't play the Cactarantula. I think I prefer playing the Terror to making a 5/5 with Dance. I think that's great here in the
6/6 would be okay.
6/6 is great. 5/5 in the face of a 5/4 is not what I want to be doing. Yep. It just feels answered on board, you know?
Right. And it's not getting bigger.
Right.
How many cards in hand for Ikawa? Perhaps
2.
that's the... It's only 2. Okay.
Yeah, it's the Terror Cactarantula. So Stingerback Terror would have come down as a 5/5 here. Has to block like this because of the Gigapede. Can't block with just the Elemental. That would just get eaten. So with the Gigapede being face up in Lucas's hand, thanks to the Primal Command, this is a forced double block like this if you want to get rid of it. Fortunately, because it's 8 toughness being presented, Lucas can't kill the Lookout with the Gigapede.
Lucas is just going to pass a turn back. Interesting, no Karavek here is going to play it safe.
Yeah, this is a nice draw from Ikawa. It's a 4/5. It is a nicely statted creature to play here that isn't the Terror and can put pressure on. Yep.
So Gigapede gets a 2-for-1 there.
All right. Karavek, the last card in hand for Lucas. 6 land means that finally Ikawa can play this Cactarantula, and both players are left with 1 card in hand, and it is a rare for both of them. Lucas has the Karavek, Ikawa has the Stingerback Terror.
This is some really nice. It looks like Lucas is trying to be really patient with the Karavek and try to do a double spell turn where he can play it and then get
That's the
back
card.
to the thing. What did he find?
He found the Cactus Folk Sure Shot.
Oh, wow.
Here, it's going to give both of these creatures trample. Next turn, 7 in the air with haste. Oof. This is a huge draw for Ikawa.
Massive swing.
This
here
is the
for
pressure
Yoshihiko
he needed.
Ikawa.
Are you ready, boys?
He's doing a little math.
All right, just checking if he does want to trade the Pulverizer. Says no. Says, all right, you can get in there.
And the Grizzly, looks like both of them are going to go down here.
2, 2, 2, and negated by the lifelink.
So exactly the same at 27. But next turn's going to be really nice for Ikawa. Let's see if Lucas can find a removal spell. Because if he can, Karavek Punisher plus removal spell would be really nice, but he doesn't find it.
Oh, it is trouble time for Lucas. He needs something, and he needs it fast, because this time, I don't think Flood is beating Screw. It can, but at the moment, I don't think it is.
And here we go. There's the big hitter. The Dragon's going to hit.
Scorching Shot the draw as well for Ikawa. Here we go.
And everything's going to come in. So the Dragon's, what, 6/6 right now?
Yeah, there's 14 damage. Half of Lucas's life is gone, and next turn is lethal.
So land off the top would be enough.
Land is GG.
But removal could get him right back in. Oh, it's a swamp.
Lucas has to play the Karavek as a blocker, because right now there's 14 damage, assuming Ikawa can play any card. But Karavek gets answered by the Scorching Shot, and that is, we're going to a game 3. Oh, and the fling drawn.
It was a fling as well?
That was the card drawn.
Okay.
Salt in the wound, really. Yeah, and Lucas picks them all up.
And that is going to be game number 2, going to Yoshihiko Ikawa. 1 game away from keeping that perfect record.
Choosing to draw.
And the draw was
Lucas is going to
nice.
choose to draw here?
Good question. I think so.
Does he think Ikawa made the right decision or wrong decision last game?
I just don't think either player really has the capability of running over. No, Lucas is going to be on the play.
That's awesome.
That's great.
I love it.
I love that. There's unspoken, nope, don't think you're right about that one.
Lucas just looks at Ikawa straight in the face, is like, you were wrong. I lost, but you were wrong.
There's a Burrow Fiend hitting. This could be good if the Rise of the Varmints does hit,
It's in hand.
Oh, it's in hand.
It's in hand.
Oh, we did it. Yeah, this is probably the best enabler for it. It does mill 2 when saddled and attacking, but
no third land or green for Lucas, and found another green card on its Rudstein. So this hand has a Shoot the Sheriff and nothing else right now.
And discarding a hand size. So we know about Flood versus Screw. How about perfect number of lands versus Screw?
How about a Ward 2 against 2 mana?
Yeah, this is going to be really tough. Here's the mill as well.
Oh, you look at Lucas's face. A Ward 2 Mercenary.
And it hit a creature as well. This is the only good news there for Lucas.
Yeah.
Is that he's got Shoot the Sheriff to take care.
If he doesn't find a forest, I don't know if this game is salvageable.
I think we're done here, Marty.
I think you go Beaver, send them. Oh, Pulverizer, send them.
Sure, same thing.
8.
And the thing is that this is where Ikawa gets to benefit from having such a lean deck, right? He's got everything lined up to be exactly this, pile on a bunch of damage as quickly as possible. So Yoshihiko Ikawa extends his undefeated streak here in Seattle. Really impressive stuff, and I'm still kind of reeling from the on the draw. Like, that was awesome.
No, really, these are the type of decisions that you see somebody who is locked in making. And Ikawa this weekend feels like he is locked in. It feels like he won the regional championship. Now he's here. He's back on the Pro Tour. He's with the best performing team in this tournament, Moriyama Japan. And he is leading the charge with just great drafting for a seat. The Sure Shot, the card that ultimately won him both of those games, was the reason he honed right back in on red-green and ultimately ended up in this deck.
Yeah.
And the plays on point, the decisions on point, everything going right now for Ikawa.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how long he can continue this undefeated streak on his march to maybe a top 8. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have Javier Dominguez versus Zhang. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to coverage here of Pro Tour Thunder Junction. We're in Seattle, Washington. There's the Space Needle. Yeah, we're waving at you. We see you. Marshall Sutcliffe with Monty DeVuti, covering draft number 1, or number 2 of the weekend here, but round number 1 of this draft. We just saw Yoshihiko Ikawa pick up a victory with red-green, and it was against a green-black deck. Both of them had a somewhat similar take on the format, pretty straightforward creatures removal, a few things to get ahead in the late game. A little bit different here for our next match, though. These players, they went deep. We've got Javier Dominguez versus Zhang, both players sitting with a 7-1 record here, Monty. And I like the style here from these two players. Let's just say that. So Javier, as you can see, Monty, is on a very powerful Rakdos deck.
A lot of breaking news in this one. 3 copies of Terminal Agony, Murder, Electro Dominance, and this deck is very solid already, but Terror of the Peaks, one of the most powerful cards in the format, topping things off at the end of the curve there. This is pretty close to an ideal Rakdos deck.
Now this is where I want to be. Cruel Ultimatum, right down there in the lower right. Rakdos the Muscle, 2 copies of Lazov, Familiar Stranger, and a Laughing Jasper Flint. Sign me up.
Yeah, this feels like a constructed control deck almost. You have Archmage's Newt doing your Snapcaster Mage impression. You have Tyrant Scorn, Cruel Ultimatum. You're building up to a lot. This deck is really sweet from Zhang. And look, Marshall, Ray is a constructed specialist. Ray won the standard 75K back at Chicago. They were the originator of this Lands Team or Analyst deck, but Happy learned to putt. They 3-0'd yesterday. They are now back here in the draft portion in Pod 1 after 7-1. Look, if constructed specialists start dominating draft, well, that's a combination to really get ahead of the field.
That makes top eights, no doubt about it. You can see that we have sped up a little bit our footage just to make sure that we can, get everything in within our normal timelines here. And there's a Raven of Elements. It's going to hit the battlefield. Not too much just yet.
Yeah, the Hearse, very unexciting at this point of the game. But it is a card that can really help you in committing crimes while also denying some of the strategies in the format, like the black-green deck that is trying to return creatures from their graveyard or use Rise of the Varmints or play the Hollow Marauder for cheaper. So it has some incidental value in addition to the fact that its primary purpose in this format is just committing crimes.
Servant of the Stinger there for Ray. And Ray's going to pass the turn back over to Javier.
Irascible Wolverine, the plot from Javier. Not really playing anything to the board is not ideal if you are the more aggressive deck against this Cruel Ultimatum deck from Ray. They really are the control deck, and using this Servant to go after their mana fixing. We already see the 3 black is on the battlefield in addition to 1 blue. So getting this red-blue desert means that they're on the track to having Cruel Ultimatum mana online.
See Silver Deputy there for Ray. Oh, I want that Cruel.
Yeah.
Just one time.
Javier deck is the more aggressive deck, of course, but he is also very mid-rangey. He has a lot of removal. These 3 copies of Terminal Agony means that we will see a lot of games go like this where it's slow, 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 and then he's going to go removal, 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 and really start getting going.
We see Ray search up a desert there to get that mana set up, also get an extra trigger from the Raven, as well as smash in for a couple more damage on top of it. I mean, not exactly the beatdown deck in the hands of Zhang, but down to 13 falls off here.
Look, Raven does work.
Yeah.
I've told you, it's one of my favorite commons in the format. It does a lot of work. And, Javier had to kill that Servant, because if that Servant hits after you've committed a crime, guess what we're getting? Guess what we're getting? There's only one.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I think now is the window for Javier to play this Wolverine, depending on what is in his hand. This is sort of the turn where there's nothing on the board that he has to immediately answer. So if he finds a spell off the top that he has to cast this turn, great. If he finds a land, well, the Wolverine's in play. Oh, I'm sorry, he has a Terror of the Peaks.
Hello, Terror of the Peaks instead.
My bad. This order's better. I was wrong.
So what's going to die? I guess just the
Raven.
The Raven here.
Yeah.
And there it goes. Okay, well, now the pressure's very much on Zhang, as they do need to get some things going, because this went from a pretty empty board to a very crowded situation very quickly for Javier.
Yeah, and you really... The fact that it costs you an additional 3 life just to target this Terror and try to get it off the board, especially when I believe the card in Ray's hand is that copy of Jailbreak Scheme, so it's not even a permanent answer, it's a very temporary answer. This is going to get out of control very quickly.
Well,
-3 life. Temporarily get rid of the Terror, get a counter on the Deputy, but that's not going away.
That's a tough one. The question is, does Ray have a payoff that they can cast.
I don't
to
think
help
Cruel
get them
Ultimatum
back
has been
into it.
had. Just say the words Cruel Ultimatum. Does Ray have
It could have
the
been
cruel-
anything,
It could
Money.
be anything. There's no way to know what Marshall's talking
You
about.
don't know what I was thinking.
No,
of.
impossible to say. I don't think it's in hand. I think one of Ray's cards is a swamp. I haven't seen the other one. But I don't think it's a mountain, and I don't think it's a Cruel Ultimatum, so we are still a ways away.
Maybe we could get a Nassif-like called shot.
Oh, can you imagine if they have just the 7 lands in play and they recreate it?
And it's in limited. There's only one in the deck.
I gotta say, Ray started playing Magic in 2016.
Very
They weren't
talented.
playing when Nassif did that Cruel Ultimatum. So I don't know.
Ray would have to be a true student of the game for us to get that kind
have to have gone back in the legendary
nonsense.
archives.
Yeah. Okay, well, the unlicensed hearse is going to get in. Remember, it doesn't just take care of graveyards. It also gets bigger and bigger, and it is a vehicle that can smash.
I think that was an island, so Cruel Ultimatum offline at the moment. Island Swamp plus an unknown, I believe, mono black card in Ray's hand. We don't have a good look at what it is, unfortunately.
Oh, Cruel Ultimatum, look at that.
Yeah, it's Marshall staring longingly.
It's a laundry list of horrendous things for your opponent, which is exactly what I want to be doing. Okay, it's going to be a loan shark.
All right, not
going,
an island.
Yeah. Going on plot. Plot's been awesome, by the way.
Yes.
It's one of those ones, I was talking to Luis about it on the podcast, and we're like, how has this not been a thing yet? Like, this is a simple but really cool mechanic that plays really well.
Look, Plot, in my eyes, is the next evolution of Foretell. And you know what? Set gave us Foretell. Kaldheim. Dave Humphreys. The man just keeps on delivering. Just ways for players to use their mana and set up future turns. I love it. It's awesome. It hits every time. And Plot just feels fantastic to play with.
Suspend vibes.
Suspend vibes, but, you know,
A little more straightforward.
Suspend with agency, suspend with upside.
Speaking of, here's the loan shark.
Not drawing a card, just a blocker.
Oh, no.
You hate to see it. Electro Dominance, X equals 4. I think we're done here.
That'll put Ray down to 3.
Yeah.
And this is end step.
Yeah. It's
And there's another
2 to the face. Yep.
So anything gets through for anything, and it's GG?
Yeah, I believe that is the world we're in. Ray just doing the math.
Wow, that's a nice use of 6 mana there for Javier Dominguez, Electro Dominance.
Electro Dominance is
2/2
a
flyer,
card.
2 damage.
Sometimes it can be awkward. The damage is not on rate. You don't always have a spell that you can cast with it. But the effect is incredibly powerful. You are essentially giving whatever spell that you cast with it flash, and you're doing it at the cost of an additional red to that spell's mana cost to also get that damage. So very, very powerful effect as long as you can use both sides of it.
And that is game number 1 going to Javier Dominguez with an overwhelming board state against Ray Zhang. Javier has a lot of stuff to do with that mana late game. Not only does he have Electro Dominance, he also has Crackle with power. So these X spells doing work for Javier.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's going to use Salvo just to take down the Newt. That's about the cleanest
No
answer
newts.
you're going to get right there.
No newts. That newt is very scary. Unassuming, but very scary. You do not want to have it start snowballing on you.
Yeah, it's hard to get it going, but when it does,
Yeah.
it's not win. By the way, double removal spell here, Murder to follow up for Javier Dominguez is going to keep everything off the board. Although, wow, triple removal spell right into agony here. That was the first of 2 Lazovs, though, that Ray has access to.
Yeah, and Tyrant Scorn, one of the cards in hand. All right, first of 2.
Right now.
Ooh, and the Crime. All right. Let's turn back into, I believe, a Gardener. Just keep setting up for the possibility. But not going for creatures, actually, just exiling.
Probably
Thunder
just
Salvo from
want to save
Javier.
those, yeah, for when they might matter in combat or something
Sure.
like that. Are we just going to see right into Terror of the Peaks? This is removal, 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 Terror?
Yeah, it's not
So is there an
great.
answer?
I don't see... I see Tyrant Scorn to bounce it. I don't see an answer immediately.
Jeez, because if Ray can kill the Terror, you'd think that Ray would be in a pretty decent position here, but if not, games don't last long if Terror of the Peaks gets to stick around. We saw that last time.
Games do not last long. It really depends what the third card in Ray's hand is, because I believe one of them is a Mirage Mesa, and one of them is Tyrant Scorn. But I haven't seen what the third card is. It is blue, from what I can tell. If it's Metamorphic Blast, that's really good. That would be great. But I don't think it is.
There's the Mesa.
All right, Marshall, let's do a quick mana check.
We're one away.
Blue, blue. Black, black, black. Or red. Red.
Give me a black or a red.
Black or a red.
Go. That was a pass to turn, by the way, from Ray. They're just going to say, okay, what could possibly go wrong with the Terror of the Peaks on the battlefield? There's Vial Smasher.
In response. Bounce the Terror.
So that the 2 damage isn't going to matter. Take that thing down. Get another counter on my Lazov.
Yep.
It's not going to copy anything this time.
Keep it as Lazov.
So that is a pretty high leverage Tyrant Scorn there. Yes, the 3 damage hurts a bit, but Ray gets to not take the 2 extra and make sure that the Terror doesn't come back down this turn.
Yeah. The Terror is gone for a turn. They don't take the damage from Vial Smasher. They take the damage, of course, from the Tyrant Scorn targeting the Terror, but has some life to work with here.
But a Vault Plunder is a nice follow-up. So still 5 mana being used here from Javier.
Javier
That's
drew
tough.
the Electro Dominance, I think. So 1 land means that Javier can instant speed go Electro Dominance for 5, put in Terror of the Peaks.
That really does put a lot of pressure on Ray to get another counter on this Lazov at least. The Dominance can go anywhere either way, but...
I think it's a Vault Buster. Yeah, there it is. Okay.
And a Servant.
No land.
These are low-impact plays at this point in the game, Monty. This Terror of the Peaks is going to come back down.
Yeah, Ray's deck is powerful. It has very, very powerful options, but sometimes it goes like this. The defensive elements, the fixing, the cards like the Deputy and the Oasis Gardener that you are playing to allow yourself to play Cruel Ultimatum can sometimes result in draws like this.
We see Highway Robbery into Terror of the Peaks now for Javier. This is a huge turn for Ray. Normally you would be hoping to top deck a Cruel Ultimatum, but we're still a mana away from that as well.
I think drew a spell. I think.
Well, if they did, they said go. Javier Dominguez finds another land off the top of the library. And, is this Electro Dominance? That is 8 mana. We don't have a Crackle.
It might be Crackle. I may have seen the wrong card.
It is Crackle of Power. Oh, no.
Oh, Ionize was the blue card.
Oh, Ionize is going to save the day here. That was what, 10?
That would have been 10 to you, 10 to Lazov. Don't want that happening.
Okay, so this is going to keep Ray Zhang in this thing, though not for long still with that Terror.
I think that was a swamp off the top.
Oh.
I think. All right.
If it was, that does set things up.
Back.
It looks like it. But Javier has some life total to play with. It's only 4 damage.
Vault Plunderer plus a red card in Javier's hand. Vault Plunderer, excellent on this board state. You have Vial Smasher, you have Terror, you draw a card. I think Javier
It might just be lethal.
Yeah,
like
can I just use these creatures to target off your blockers
right.
and then kill you that way? Terror is such an outrageous card.
It is outrageous. This is not the first
5U.
time we've seen this card.
Down to 8. Vault Plunderer. Oh, that's an outlaw. Is it? I believe it is. It's a Warlock, right? The Summoner. So
It
it's
is a
1 to you
Warlock.
from Vial Smasher, 3 to you from the Summoner, plus Vault Plunderer, 3 to you, 1 to you. I think it's lethal.
Yeah,
It's
it
like, do you have
is.
anything?
Target you.
I think Ray just has a swamp. That's
And that's
it.
going to do it. Javier Dominguez picks up the victory in 2 convincing games with his new best friend, Terror of the Peaks.
Terror of the Peaks. You know what? I would also have that dragon as best friend. Really good friend to have.
Yeah.
Really bad enemy.
That's the one you want. I mean, I'm a little closer with Cruel Ultimatum, but it turns out Terror of the Peaks a little easier to be friends with.
Yeah. Cruel Ultimatum, hell of a card, but you do need to draw it. And unfortunately, the games are just a little bit awkward for Ray there. Their deck still looks very powerful, and 7-2. Still a very good record if they can get out of limited here with a 2-1, maybe even a 1-2 with this Cruel Ultimatum deck. They still have a great shot in Constructed, but for Javier, starting off with a win here, 8-1, making another run at it.
Yeah, so important these draft rounds early on day number 2. The players know what they've got as far as Constructed goes. They know what the field looks like, and their confidence should be high. They obviously had a great day 1. But day 2 draft is where it all gets decided. We've got more of that coming up for you right after this.